Good afternoon. Today I'm interviewing James Grenton, who's a member of Cambridge Writers, and he's gone down the self-publishing route. Good afternoon, James. Your first novel was Somali Doctrine. Could you tell me a little bit about it?
Sure. So the Somali Doctrine is a thriller, and it tells the story of an Interpol agent whose mission is to bring down the two psychopaths who've taken control of the world's largest NGO. So the story starts in Somaliland, which is in northwest Somalia in the Horn of Africa, and then goes on to Ethiopia, also goes to Kenya, particularly the slums of Nairobi, and to South Africa, Cape Town, and then to London and Paris, and then ends in the refugee camps again, but this time of southern Somalia, just not far from Mogadishu.
Right, so if you look at the title, the Somali bit is fairly obvious. What about the doctrine bit? Where does that come in?
So the term the Somali Doctrine is actually a term that was coined after the US's failed invasion of Somalia. You'll remember, like, the film Black Hawk Down was done about that invasion. And really it was developed as a doctrine because America decided that it would never again intervene in a foreign country for humanitarian reasons, and that it would only intervene if its national interests were at stake. And that's one of the themes behind this book.
So what was your driving force for writing it?
I've travelled quite a lot around Africa and also Asia, South America, but particularly Africa. And spent time also in Somaliland, as well as Kenya and Ethiopia. And I was working at the time for a number of international NGOs and was quite shocked, actually, by the abuse of power of these NGOs and their failure to really counter poverty. And what I saw, and I think a number of people would agree with this, is that NGOs are part of the problem as much as part of the solution, that they tend to increase poverty by creating dependency, by fostering corruption, and by having failed projects.
So it has a strong political, perhaps a controversial political slant to it. Who do you think would most enjoy reading this novel?
I mean, first and foremost, it's a thriller. You know, it's a story, an action story, and it's kind of exciting and it's adventurous, etc. That's first and foremost, you know, the importance of the story. But the backdrop of the kind of the more political and social aspect is important. So I think it would probably appeal to people who like, you know, what we might call intelligent thrillers. So thrillers with a kind of a social message, and thrillers where people will kind of read it and also learn something in the process.
Good. So let's move on to your second novel, which is Black Coke. Could you tell us a little bit about what that's about?
So Black Coke is a thriller, and it tells the story of a secret agent for the UK's Serious Organised Crime Agency, which is like the UK's equivalent of the FBI. And he goes on a quest, this time to Colombia, to try and bring down a major drugs cartel, which has developed a new form of cocaine, a genetically modified form of cocaine, which is black, and hence why it's called Black Coke.
And the readership for that?
The readership, again, would be kind of, I think, people who like intelligent thrillers, because, again, there is a social message behind this one, and this one is more about the kind of futility of the war on drugs. One of the reasons that I wrote this story was after reading an article in which a Mexican drug lord was thanking Ronald Reagan and thanking George Bush for the war on drugs because it had made him so rich.
So two great books, which I think are selling very well. Have you anything else in the pipeline?
So I'm working on my third novel. I've nearly finished it. And this one takes place in Yemen. So, you know, obviously the other side of the Gulf from Somalia. And it's based around the time of the 2011 revolution, so that happened last year in Yemen. And it's also based partly on personal experience, because I spent a bit of time in Yemen a few years ago, again with an NGO. And this time the context is really the kind of illegal arms trade and what can be done to stop it.
Great, well I look forward to reading that, your third novel. And James, thank you very much for coming in this afternoon to talk about your writing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.